today we are welcoming Janet Kristevsky, Laura Clements, and Christine Hamilton from Accenture. They'll be discussing how public sector organizations can ensure they're providing the people with the skills they need to thrive in the digital workspace. And to kick off this discussion of talent and skilling, we're going to jump right in with a short intro video to get things started.
Hi there. Hopefully our video has got you all excited for our session here today. I wanted to thank everyone for joining what I hope will be an engaging session. Today, we look forward to discussing future skilling and why it's so important for the public sector, and how you can reimagine, reinvent, and be ready for change, just as we saw in the video. Let me start by introducing myself. My name is Laura Clements, and I lead Accenture Canada's Federal Public Service Talent Organization practice here in Ottawa. In my role, I support CIOs, CHROs, and chief digital officers and their teams in shaping and defining what an inclusive, future-ready workforce looks like. And for this reason, I'm delighted to be here today to talk to you about how you can build digital fluency across your organization, empower your people to be drivers of change, and to create a culture of continuous learning and embrace new technology. Today, we will reference a number of pieces of Accenture's research, our points of view, and our client experiences that will contribute to hopefully sparking some insights from all of you and discoveries around a number of thought-provoking themes. We'll reference the pieces including our work around the modern cloud champions. This piece really looks to explore how to unlock the potential of unlock your human potential and drive cloud value. The hidden worker, and how to uncover missed talent pools and improve your diversity. And our Care to Do Better research, which explores building trust to leave your people and your business net better off. Please be sure to check out the community platform after our session today for links to all of these materials. And without further ado, I would like to introduce some of my esteemed colleagues, Janet Kristevsky and Christine Hamilton. So maybe Christine, I'll hand it over to you to introduce yourself.
Oh, super. Thank you so much, Laura. My name is Christine Hamilton, and I'm a Principal Director in Accenture Strategy and Consulting Practice in Ottawa. And like Laura, just thrilled to be here today and have the opportunity to chat with all of you around this really important topic. I spend most of my time working with our federal government clients to help them think about and execute their next strategic changes. So the whole concept of skills, digital fluency, and really preparing for the future is front and center of the work that we get involved with. Over to you, Janet.
Great, thanks, Christine. Welcome, everyone. My name is Janet Kristevsky, and I lead Accenture Canada's National Talent and Organization Human Potential Practice. For many years, I've been working with a variety of organizations and industries on big transformations. And the last couple of years have really taken on a big focus on digital and cloud journeys and the future of work. And no surprise with all that's going on these days and the acceleration of technology and everything that we do. And data analytics using AI and machine learning is now just the way that I do work to inform talent strategies, as well as how to approach talent development and the skills, diversity, and ways of working in new, fresh, and creative ways. So I'm delighted to be here with you to speak on such an important topic with both Christine and Laura, to share our experiences both in Canada's public sector, as well as some learnings that I can bring from other industries. Laura, back over to you.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Janet, Christine. It's so wonderful to be joined with both of you here today. Maybe I'll take a pause here just to take a moment to set the scene. We're all aware that the COVID-19 crisis introduced change in a way that impact all of us across all of our organizations, across geographies, and the way we did business fundamentally changed. Overnight, both public and private sector organizations really did have to embrace and accelerate their digital journey as a result of COVID. And it became clear for all of us that every organization had to become a technology organization. It really did truly ignite an era of exponential transformation for all of us and our organizations. We've seen businesses that have rapidly taken on digital transformations, like adopting digital operating models, integrating AI, turning to machine learning and for processes that may have otherwise been manual, and making the leap to embrace the cloud. We've actually heard some interesting stats around this, which I think will be helpful for everyone joining us in the discussion today. And that's around 44% of Canadian public service respondents have ramped up their use of cloud technologies in direct response to the crisis. And as I look around this virtual room, I ask you if you would consider yourself as part of that 44, part of that in digital transformation. There's another piece of the puzzle I'd like to take a closer look at, and that's skills. Interestingly enough, 63% of organizations are failing to reach their expected value from their cloud investments. And 54% of CEOs say that there's a skill shortage. The skill shortage is actually the top roadblock in achieving that value. So if companies are investing in all of this technology, like cloud, but they're not able to get the benefits from it, then we really need to take a look at what the skills are to be able to take that advantage. Not surprising enough, only 18% of CXOs are in fact doing both, which is investing in the technology and the cloud strategies, as well as their people. So I do ask that you consider, if you consider yourself and your teams to have the right skills to truly support a cloud transformation. And how about the skills that are needed to really drive continuous or organic innovation that's needed for the future? It's an interesting way to kind of think about it when you look at it from the skills perspective. So let's look at it a little further. It's becoming important to ignite innovation. We all know that, and that's required across organizations. And technology is now being used by individuals within your organizations who don't have highly specialized skills. Many of us have heard the term technology democratization. However, put simply, it just means putting powerful technology capabilities into the hands of many, not just the IT folks. Democratizing technology lets people do their work or fix pain points on their own without needing to seek funding or process for a major IT project. And employees can create custom dashboards for their group finances, or perhaps they can build apps to approve and automatically fulfill purchase orders, and so much more. It's not about a single tool or service. It's about the culmination of different technologies coming together: natural language processing, low-code platforms, and robotic process automation. Suddenly, the power to create technology solutions is entering the hands of people across the enterprise. And organizations can teach their non-IT employees to think like technologists, putting that skills gap we talked about in the past. It's pretty compelling when you think about it from that perspective. The rapid pace of change is going to continue to increase, and technology may be the driver, but it will be your people, not just those in IT, who will be the true drivers of change, the ones that will be key to unlocking that value. They need to be equipped with the right skills to enable them to keep up with these digital changes and be relevant. Think back to the transition. from DOS to Windows, or the move to paperless workflow. But this change that we're up against now will require even greater commitment and investment in our people. Right now, we're seeing our clients focusing on the skills required for their technology transformation programs while not thinking about the broader change in how they will level up digital fluency and thinking about the longer term learning versus reskilling to in turn drive greater efficiency and outcomes. A fundamental shift is required to move from looking at the skills that were required right now and today to the ones that are required for the bigger picture and for the future. So what skills might you need? And what am I talking about when I talk about these skills? It's about being digitally fluent. It's a term used to describe the combination of digital, technical, social competencies that are really key to the success in the new environments that we're going to be working in to function in the digital world. Our people need knowledge and skills in such things as cross-functional collaboration, data-led decision-making, continuous innovation, value optimization, and customer and citizen centricity. This level of knowledge allows people to build on technology foundations rather than just working alongside them. Digital fluency used to be an aspiration, and now it's critical for survival. The shift to building digital fluency and training your people to think like technologists really requires a new mindset. We all need to think about it from that mindset perspective. Organizations need to think and upskill holistically, and it's no longer the IT department that holds those digital skills. It's the organization's wide continuous learning journey. Christine, I've covered a little bit about what we're seeing happening around skilling and digital skilling in the public sector. But Christine, let me hand it over to you because I know you've got your eyes on that as well.
Thanks very much, Laura. I think I'd like to dig into this idea of technology democratization a little bit and really, talk about what that means for functions and employees who don't have IT in their titles. And one of the best references that I like to refer to is really when you think about the HR function. And in many public sector organizations, HR usually isn't at the top of a priority list for big IT investments. A lot of the work in HR has traditionally been manual without a lot of visibility into what is going on behind the scene. But if you think about where HR has come over the last decade and think specifically about recruiting and the impact that smart recruiting platforms like LinkedIn have had by providing the opportunity for HR recruitment to gain access to artificial powered tools, which let them connect with skilled individuals with the right experience, lets individuals tailor their searches. It really, it's amazing when you think about it. A tool that we all use pretty much every day has really changed the recruitment landscape without having to directly engage IT. These kinds of solutions really allow people and machines to grow stronger together. But this does, as you mentioned, Laura, this doesn't mean turning everyone into an expert coder. But what it does mean is really increasing the technology understanding, making sure that people understand the benefits and the risks of their different decisions that they're making, and setting up appropriate guardrails along the way so that people are leveraging the available tools appropriately. Interestingly enough, we learned in a recent study that 78% of Canadian public sector respondents expect moderate to significant investments in technology democratization training for non-IT employees next year. That's a huge segment of the population, a big investment. But I think, training for training's sake in the absence of having the enabling culture will really only go so far, and the impacts will really be limited. I think it's really important that we think about this in a broader context with culture and behavior. Really, it's a shift that's needed to help set new expectations so that people's roles, it's clear that they're expected to leverage technology in their roles and functions. We want everyone to understand that in order to stay relevant, a certain level of technology understanding and application needs to be part of the individual's skill set. And I think really fundamentally, it's moving to this away from this concept of just sort of one and done type training to an environment of continuous learning. Because really, it's not just learning how to use a new tool or a new application or checking out the next cool thing, but really it's how to apply the thinking around how different types of technology solutions apply into day-to-day activities. And I think, Janet, really interested in understanding how you're seeing this come to life with some of your clients.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Christine. And the point you were just making is really so important. And there's some amazing stories of organizations who've embraced creative new ways to develop their talent and that culture of continuous learning that you're talking about. When we started out on cloud and digital programs, the training was all about very technical certifications needed. And time again, when we only focused on narrow technical training, organizations were not able to realize the business benefits they set out to achieve. So we've had lots of debates on how much investment really is required in skills and training. And so we undertook research to figure out which skills best move the needle and which are the ones we care most about. And we had 3 big learnings that reinforce the points that you and Laura have been making so far. First, we determined that the IT and engineering teams need training in 6 core areas: cloud computing, modern engineering, agile data and intelligence, DevSecOps, and cybersecurity. Second, we learned that we also needed to expand our audience and include business stakeholders. They don't need to go as deep in these tech areas, but they need a general understanding of how cloud, data, agile, and security are relevant to their roles. And these are the digital fluency skills that Laura referenced earlier that everyone in the enterprise will need so they can drive faster speed to value with customers and citizens. And third is that it's critical to create a Leadership 101 program, the biggest focus being to accelerate the decision-making and build more autonomy within their teams to really keep leadership from being the bottleneck to operating at speed. So in my experience, we found that when we support the training in this broad way, it helps build that culture of continuous learning, has substantial impact on the speed of the transformation and the overall return on investment. And so I'd like to share 2 quick examples. The first example is Accenture's own global learning journey. As we've talked about, digital is everywhere and everybody needs to be a technologist. But how do you do that? And so we launched something that we call TQ. And we launched it to everyone in our global organization, over 600,000 people. So not just the tech-focused employees. TQ is about helping all of our employees become more fluent in the technologies that are changing the world in new ways every day. And so we're now a couple of years into our TQ journey, embracing a culture of continuous learning. And we have seen over 50% increase in our tech fluency to date, which has really helped our teams think like technologists and enable us to move faster and serve organizations better. The second example is how we pull all the pieces together. So we worked with a global oil and gas company who wanted to stay future relevant and equip their workers with new digital skills. So the team did a few things. They used AI and analytics to understand labor market insights and future skills, and Christine will double click on this in a moment. They did a skills assessment to map their current skills to where they want to go and understand their gaps. And this informed the creation of learning paths tied to specific digital focus areas like data analytics, as well as initiatives aimed at fostering cross-functional collaboration. And also inform their talent strategy and what they should buy and borrow, if you will, in addition to building new skills. So after just a year and a half, learning has become a key pillar of this company's culture.
Janet, I love those examples. And as you mentioned, sort of thinking about the speed at which things are changing, it's important to use smart technologies like AI and analytics for help. So a little example of the work that we did with Skyhive. Skyhive is a Canadian company that offers a service where AI is used to analyze a workforce's current skills and identify important new or emerging skills at the individual level. Skyhive assesses what skills each employee will need to excel in their specific role, identifies their personal skill gap, and then connects them to the right training through personalized learning journeys. It's taking the detailed thinking out. And, many of us can think back to those years of completing manual skills assessment ratings through multiple spreadsheets that were, honestly quite subjective to a lot of bias and just an inability to truly reflect the skill gaps and needs of our employees. We're now seeing this automated through intelligence. And SkyHigh's platform helped one of our public sector clients define the workforce needs in the growing autonomous vehicle sector. So together, we designed an autonomous vehicle workforce skill and talent strategy. And this included a workforce skills needs and gaps analysis, a comprehensive skills inventory, and a recommendation for determining learning and skills development resources. What's really interesting about this example that I absolutely love is that the future skills identification was a leading part of the overall approach to the strategy and planning. And it wasn't just left to the end where it was like, oh, geez, we better sort out skills. It was really part and parcel of the entire strategy. And this example really highlights the power of including evidence-based data, as Laura mentioned way back at the beginning, evidence-based data to inform any skilling strategy. In the past, when you think about it, when organizations needed new skills, they would often just hire new people. But now in the current labor market that we're facing, everybody is struggling to find people to fill roles. The issue fundamentally is that there just aren't enough workers and skilled candidates to fill an increasing number of high-skilled and evolving requirements. The balance between hiring skills and developing skills internally isn't new. But in light of today's labor market, I want to plant a point that I think is really important to remember about reskilling and upskilling. Reskilling represents a 6 times cost savings over hiring new workers with the required skills. So when you think about reskilling, traditionally, most teams have worked with HR and asked HR about how to go about upskilling their teams. But with today's changing technology landscape, HR leaders often don't have the answers. So teams really need to work in partnership with HR to build out training programs and move from thinking, who can I hire to how can I empower? It's not just about training, it's about an entire sort of resource strategy. And upskilling in today's world requires more than training. Successful organizations are employing a variety of integrated approaches, including training, mentorship, on-the-job practice, etc. And I think in this kind of environment, HR really takes on a role as a change agent to help business and IT leaders think differently about their people and their talent mobility. Let's be honest, technology is going to continue to evolve, and it's critical that organizations invest in lifelong learning. On the same token, it's important that workers also need to embrace this continuous learning mindset. As you invest in reskilling people, you'll open new doors for them and be able to provide them with exciting new roles and responsibilities that help position them for the future of work and the evolution of technology. And I keep coming back to, I'm sure we've all, heard the quote or seen the quote around where one leader says to the other, what if I invest all of this in my employees and they leave? And the other leader says back, well, what if I don't and they stay? So, I think it's really about looking holistically at upskilling our workforce. And it goes beyond the individual role that they are fulfilling at any point in time. And it's really about upskilling as a collective.
Yeah, Christine, as you were talking, I was thinking a lot about an example on the other side of the Atlantic and with Homes England. And it's an organization that's responsible for increasing the number of homes built in England and improving their overall housing affordability and supply. They were looking to transform their digital services provision within their organization to truly become best in class digital organization. And they understood that they needed to attract, retain, and develop digital talent and use digital ways of working to deliver success and to really deliver their services more effectively to their citizens. And your examples, it just really rings true that skills in digital literacy in this example was a leading part in the design. It wasn't an after fact. So it's interesting, like the work that we did in that story around Homes England has sparked some interest here in Canada with some of our public service clients who have embarked on a transformative and an investment on their data literacy program, and really looking at how they can map that digital literacy capability within their organization, but leading it with vision and culture and the mindsets around their employees to embrace that transformation, as opposed to setting the transformation and hoping that the culture and mindsets and behaviors would pick up from that. So, Janet, a couple really kind of points around from a public sector perspective, but would love to hear what you're seeing outside of the public sector, because you've got a good lens on some of our other industries that we support.
Yeah, absolutely, Laura. And maybe if we just pivot a little bit more and touch back on some of the things that we were talking about before in terms of this battle for talent and everything that we're talking about that's necessary to be able to both retain and attract talent. And so really everybody is in this battle for talent, and the need to reskill continues to grow. And this competitive market for talent means that Canadian organizations can no longer hire their way out of the problem as the demand far exceeds the supply. And, we also have some really big names making a play for our Canadian talent. And these organizations are investing in their employee learning and skilling programs to help attract and retain talent. So Google, Amazon, Twitter, Netflix, and Shopify have all announced plans to hire this year more than 10,000 new roles in Canada in 2021 alone. They're also hiring for aptitude and competency and not necessarily deep skills, knowing that they can skill up talent to meet their growth and innovation priorities. Public sector organizations are going up against these top organizations with attractive comp and benefit packages, and there's a need to focus on developing workers at all levels. And so our research shows that 88% of Canadian public sector leaders understand the need to develop people as technologists. So this is great. I mean, leaders recognize the need. That's the first step. Now is the time to take action, investing in skilling and the talent development programs that we've been talking about. And what we're seeing at large is that Canadian organizations are lagging their global peers, particularly if you look at our neighbors in the US. Canadian employers spend approximately $1,000 per employee on learning and development, which is increasing every year, but certainly not fast enough to keep pace with what's needed. And if I take one example from the US, AT&T is investing roughly $13,000 per employee on retraining and $1 billion to retrain nearly half of its workforce for jobs of the future. What do you think about these stats, Laura? And what can public sector organizations do in the face of these big names?
You know what, Janet, first, like, wow, $13,000 Canadian versus 1,000 in the public, here in Canada for the public sector. That's a huge differential. It's a big difference on the impact it will have for the skills for the individual employee and the experience. And I know that public sector organizations and it does need to be narrowed significantly, especially when you were talking about the battle for talent above. And a key differentiator in the public sector can be their brand. And we know that. We know that from working in this sector, that you can help talent to connect, to feel a strong sense of belonging by showcasing what it means to be part of the organization and part of the government to drive social purpose and betterment for Canadians through their work and their contributions. And I know the focus of our conversation is about digital skill development, but there's so much more that we can and really must do if you want to attract and retain the best talent for these highly sought after skills. Employees are expecting more from their employers, especially now since we're living in a new post-COVID or COVID-esque world, if you like to call it that. And we're at a key point in time where, as leaders and organizations, we are experimenting with what the workforce of the future really needs to look like and what it could look like. So at the same time, employees are really thinking about what they want their work and their life to feel like. And as the two come together, the social contract is really, truly being renegotiated in front of all of us right now. So Janet, I'm going to come back to you for a minute here, because perhaps you can share with us some steps that organizations can do to create an environment where people truly are going to thrive.
Yeah, sure, Laura. I mean, first of all, I could not agree with you more. This is where public sector has an advantage and can focus on purpose, well-being, and belonging to differentiate. And we have a real opportunity to reflect on a couple of important things here. What does your organization stand for? And how are you focusing on career development and the care and feeding of your employees? So as we all know, many people are at a crossroads right now. We keep hearing, a day doesn't go by that you don't hear about the Great Resignation. A clear brand and values, as well as career development and interesting work, will help people decide if your organization and culture are right for them, turning attrition into attraction. And what we're seeing is employees placing an ever increasing importance on belonging. Often compensation is considered the main driver of attrition. And don't get me wrong, it's important, but it's not the driving force unless the other pieces of the employee value proposition are not there. And I cannot overemphasize the importance of diversity, equity, and inclusion, and looking for hidden workers as untapped pools of talent, like those returning to the workplace from a significant time away, or persons with disabilities. This opportunity to help fill talent gaps, remove barriers to employment, and increase the diversity of your workforce is really a win-win for everyone. And so when you think about your entire employee experience, you can enable your people to thrive. And this is what the Royal Navy, another one of UK's largest employers, did in 2019 when they found themselves facing a growing talent challenge, which could have a real impact on both operations as well as the security of the country. And so they started on a journey to develop and implement a complete overhaul of employee-facing services to increase satisfaction, reduce admin and complexity. And this digital service called My Navy also helped individuals feel more connected to colleagues, had a strong focus on professional development, and empowered more transparent career progression, highlighting compelling long-term career paths. So this ultimately resulted in the Royal Navy significantly improving their talent, attraction, and retention.
I absolutely love that Royal Navy example, Janet, and I know it's one that you and I've spoke about a number of times, and it's so insightful, and it's a nice one to kind of to anchor on as we come to the end of our discussion here today. But I wanted to take a moment just to kind of say, so what does all this mean? And what we've spoken about may seem daunting to many of you, and you may even be thinking public service organizations, the public service organizations that we work within and across are not a private sector company. And digital literacy in its true form might be far too much of a leap. But there are things that we can all do. We've witnessed firsthand how we've stepped up to the COVID challenge. And that was absolutely no small feat. And now we can take those next steps. Canadian business leaders need to anticipate what skills their organizations will need in the future. And while also fostering a culture that encourages their people to continuously learn and apply new skills throughout their careers, recognize 4 key takeaways today. We need to approach skilling as a team sport. So let's bring the community together in defining the future of skilling and digital fluency. The second point is we need to be data-driven, because skilling isn't a single initiative. Project and understand where your skills are for the future to better equip your employees to be ready. And the third point is we need to reimagine employee experiences. It is crucial for fostering a sense of belonging for your employees. And the last, and this is one that strikes a chord for me, is we need to think like technologists to spark and drive and encourage innovation. There's much work to be done, but fortunately for Canadians, we're adaptable and among the most versatile. And so I ask all of you, what small step can you take? Where is your organization on its digital fluency journey? Where are you going? What are you going to do differently to attract and retain the talent for the future? What would prospective employees say about your culture? Some really good questions to kind of take away and think about as we leave today's session. I thank all of you for joining us here today. Now it's over to you. We'd love to hear from you on your thoughts on what we've discussed and answer any questions you have. We look forward to seeing you all in the Q&A session after. Have a great day. Thank you.